Howdy folks, Tex Grebner here with Tex Grebner Outdoors. The purpose of this video is to explain the differences, advantages, and disadvantages of controlled feeding, push feeding, and hybrid feeding, which are different feeding styles of magazined rifles on the market today. Each of these styles have an advantage and a disadvantage. With that being said though, I own all these rifles that I'm about to show you, and so certain rifles have different uses than others, as you will see. This of course is a Savage Model 99 in 308. It's appeared in quite a few of my videos lately, but it is a perfect example of controlled feeding. What is controlled feed rather than push feed? Controlled feed has an extractor that literally follows the bullet in. As you can see, as soon as it came out of the magazine, the bullet was picked up by the extractor. Again, as soon as it comes out of the magazine, it is picked up by the extractor. Glocks and 1911s are both controlled feed as well as controlled extraction. It's a very old design that in fact lends itself to incredible reliability in both handguns and in centerfire rifles. However, in the case of the 1911, because it has such a steep feed ramp, controlled feed in a semi-auto such as the 1911 does require a polished bolt face. This lever action is a Model 95 Winchester. This is a push feed action. Now what I'm about to show you is not only how to load a 95 Winchester, but also how to ghost load a Model 95 Winchester. You slide the cartridge in like that, and then you thumb it down. Just like that. And now the magazine is full, and so because this is a push feed, it can be ghost loaded. As you see, I have a cartridge in the chamber, and I'm thumbing down the round in the magazine to allow me to ghost load to get a completely topped off rifle. Now as you can see, when the action closes, the round is not captive, which does mean that you can lose some reliability, and there's nothing wrong with a push feed lever action or a push feed bolt action. But as you see, you can actually get that cartridge jammed up in there if you don't cycle the action vigorously. This is a Marlin Model 336 that uses a hybrid controlled push feeding action. It is of course based off of the masterfully designed 1895 Marlin action. It is probably the best lever action design with a tubular magazine that was ever made, as far as usability and versatility, and also reliability, because it ejects out the side, and it is of course a hybrid between controlled feeding and push feeding. At the beginning it is a push feed, and then there you heard the extractor claw pick up the casing on the rim, where it now becomes controlled feeding. Again, when the action is cycled, it is a push feed, and then midway into the action it is pushed up under the extractor claw, and you hear the extractor claw engage. This is why the Marlin 95 type action is chosen by many Alaskan guides to be their bear defense weapon. This is a 1917 Enfield. This is not a Lee Enfield. This is a 1917 Enfield. It has a bolt hold open built into the magazine, and it is a hybrid action between the 98 Mauser and the Lee Enfield. It is in fact a beautiful example of a controlled feed bolt action. As you can see, as soon as the cartridge begins to leave the magazine, it is picked up by the extractor claw. This is a Stevens Model 200. It is an example of a push feed bolt action. When a round is loaded into the magazine, the bolt pushes the round up into the chamber. Probably the most famous push feed action is in fact the Remington Model 700. You may have heard the terms controlled feeding, push feeding, and hybrid feeding before, but you never quite knew what they meant. And now you do, which is why I made and am making this video, so that you can be an informed consumer. I mentioned some advantages and disadvantages, but I never got quite specific at the beginning of this video. The main advantage of controlled feeding is in the name. It is controlled feeding. As soon as the round exits the magazine, it is picked up by the extractor claw, which is large. So you have more surface area on the rim when it comes time to remove the case from the chamber, so you're less likely to tear the rim of the case and get a case stuck in your chamber. But also, with captive feeding or controlled feeding, the round enters the chamber straight. So under unfavorable circumstances, such as hunting dangerous game, where your life might depend on every round you fire, and the reliability of your rifle, in such cases, Mauser and Enfield type actions are incredibly in vogue. Notably, the Winchester Model 70 uses a modernized Mauser action, and the Ruger M77 uses a modified Mauser hybrid Enfield type action. But the push feed actions as used in modern Remington rifles tend to be more accurate, but they do have less reliability in extraction and in feeding, because there has been many a time when with my Stevens Model 200, on the last round of my magazine, where the round has literally popped out of the magazine and attempted to go into the chamber sideways. So when it comes down to it, given the choice between accuracy in a varmint rifle and reliability in a dangerous game type bolt action rifle, the choice is really up to you. It all depends on what you're using the gun for. To my knowledge, all Winchester repeating lever actions have always been push feed type actions. Now the Savage Model 99 is in fact a controlled feed lever action, but it does have a relatively small extractor claw, which means if you get a case stuck in the chamber, it's entirely possible to tear the rim of the case. The Model 95 Winchester uses pointed bullets because it has a stacked magazine rather than a tubular magazine. One main disadvantage of a Model 95 Winchester is that because it ejects straight out the top, you would have a difficulty in mounting a scope. With that being said, the Model 95 Marlin, until the advent of polymer tipped ammunition, you could not use pointed type projectiles because pulsation in the magazine with a pointed bullet tip against the primer of another round would cause a chain fire in the magazine. Now that we have the lever evolution, a 30-30 can be taken out as far as 300 yards with some element of accuracy. But you're also limited in the stroke length of the lever. The most powerful cartridge in a lever action today is the 475 Turnbull, which is a custom cartridge because the 1886 type Winchester action was originally designed to fire a cartridge as long as the 4590. The 475 Turnbull is a bona fide elephant gun cartridge in a lever action. Oh, I want one of those. With that being said, though, I do prefer the hybrid feeding type of the Marlin action from the 95 on up to the Model 336. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you, because if you know what to look for, you can be a much more informed consumer. The simple fact is, if you're looking for a dangerous game bolt action, you would want controlled feeding. Or you could use a Savage Model 99 in 375 Winchester, while the 375 Winchester is somewhat of an underpowered round because it is a conversion from the old black powder round of 3855. But it is still an excellent brush gun in that caliber that should have no problem with good shot placement on large North American game. If you're looking for an incredibly accurate varmint rifle in a bolt action, well then of course push feed is the way to go. But I can't in good conscience tell you that you should take a push feed action after game capable of killing you. And also, the Model 95 Marlin in 4570, especially if it is chambered up to the 457 Wild West Magnum by Wild West Guns for a custom conversion, which is basically a 458 Winchester cartridge that has been trimmed down to fit into the Model 95's action, that would be an excellent brush gun for dangerous game in North America. So the choice is yours. It all depends on what you're looking for and what you can actually afford. I honestly don't have any experience with double rifles to give you a comparison between side lock, drop lock, and box lock type actions in those rifles. But what I can say is, As always, God bless all my sportsmen of America. Join the NRA to protect our rights. Please check out my friends over at legallyconcealed.org. Thank you very much to those of you involved in law enforcement and those of you serving in the military. And thanks for watching Tex Grebner Outdoors.